Good morning. It's October 24th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Well, Chuck Schumer seems to be in desperation mode. He's willing to sacrifice anybody in American society to keep his job as a Democratic leader of the Senate and quite possibly his job as a U.S. Senator. He has led his caucus to block efforts to reopen the government 12 times as we head into the fourth week of the shutdown. All we hear is about the subsidies for health care under the Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare. The Democrats talk in generalities and keep saying millions of people will lose their health care. But you notice they do not go into any facts because that would undermine their argument if people began to understand how these subsidies work. Allow me to give you a brief refresher. When Obamacare was passed into law, they set up various plans that could be purchased on exchanges in each state. Guidelines would be determined on who could buy the plans, how much they would cost, and what subsidies they would be given to those truly in need. The general rule was that anyone making less than 400% of the federal poverty level would be eligible for a subsidy. The COVID pandemic hit and Democrats were in control of the government, so they decided to expand the subsidies to as many people as possible. In the American Rescue Plan, this income cap was lifted. Section 9661 of the ARP capped marketplace health insurance premiums for the benchmark silver plan at no more than 8.5% of household income. The 8.5% cap applies to people with household incomes of 400% of the federal poverty level or higher. For people with lower incomes, the percentage of income that has to be paid for the benchmark premium has been reduced across the board. These subsidy enhancements were initially applicable for 2021 and 2022, but the Inflation Reduction Act extended them through 2025. That's right, the Democrats lifted the cap, but also put in language in the bill that ended those subsidies at the end of 2025. Under the current rules, a couple making close to $90,000 a year, just two people, they get a subsidy. A family of four making close to $140,000 is also eligible for a subsidy. Using the benchmark silver plan, the average yearly premium for those receiving the enhanced subsidy is $888. That's about $90 a month. Without those subsidies, the annual premium would come out to $1,087. That's just $200 more a year. Remember, nobody is doing away with all the subsidies, just returning them to their previous levels of 400% of the federal poverty level. You would, not according to what you think the Democrats are saying. My wife and I get our health insurance under the Federal Employee Health Benefit System because she's a retired federal employee. Our share of the premium is well over $6,000 per year. It's going to increase next year, just like everyone else in the country, because health care costs are outpacing inflation. Well, Democrats are now banking that once people get used to getting this government handout, they'll demand that it continue. It was never intended to be permanent, as passed by a Democratic majority, but now it's become their linchpin of their fight. But as I said, you don't see them talking specific numbers, just making general claims that millions of people are going to lose their health care. Here's another fact they don't want you to focus on. Under the current plan, the government is paying about 88% of the premiums for people on Obamacare. If the subsidy goes away, that number falls to 78%. That's not the draconian reduction the Democrats would have you believe. And with the 8.5% of income gap, the Congressional Budget Office issued a report that thousands of people are inflating their incomes when they apply for the subsidy to keep their premiums subsidized. And I suspect this is just another stepping stone that Democrats are trying to use to bring about a single-payer health care system where the government is in charge of all health care. Getting back to the shutdown, the Republicans have made it very clear they will consider the subsidies in the HHS appropriations bill once a clean CR is passed and Congress returns to some form of regular order. That means there will be debate on the House and Senate floor. Members can offer amendments and finally arrive at a final vote. If all indicators are correct, there are sufficient Republican votes in both the House and Senate to extend the subsidies, but that would require Democrats to reopen the government, and that would look like a defeat for Chuck Schumer, and his political career would be circling the drain. Republicans have offered amendments to ensure that essential workers, including the military, get paid, but Democrats refuse to budge. At the first of the month coming up, programs like SNAP, meaning food stamps, will not have funding, and people, truly needy people who rely on this program for food, will find themselves without the funds. Government workers will start to miss mortgage payments and other debts. I don't know how long this shutdown can go on. Eventually it will end, and federal employees who have been prohibited from working will get their back pay. Those that are not essential are basically getting a vacation. Others like air traffic controllers, TSA people, nuclear site maintenance workers, military, etc., are all working but not getting paid until the shutdown is ended. So don't be fooled by the shenanigans of Democrats. Ask your senator if he or she thinks a family making about $140,000 needs an enhanced subsidy. Ask them if they are enforcing the rule that requires people to avail themselves of their employer health plan. We've seen a 7% drop in that category since they lifted the income cap for subsidies. And as I pointed out, once people start getting something from the government, they don't like giving it up. They start to believe they're entitled to this government handout. That's what the Democrats are counting on, and they don't want you focusing on any of the detailed facts. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.